if you have all your supplies, you can start by taking your breadboard and your power module and connecting them like so. Went in pretty easily. A couple things to note about this power module setup before you get started is that notice that they're on these two little ends here. You've got a small plus sign and minus sign on both sides. So the plus sign needs to be going along the red here and corresponding to the plus on the breadboard. So make sure you have this set up correctly. So this plus matches up with the same side as this plus, and this negative is on the same side as that negative. Also, there's kind of three different modes you can have for each of for how the power module powers the breadboard. And you'll notice here you've got something that says 5 volt off and then 3.3 volts. And so you can, there's a little pin here that you can take off and put back on. You want to make sure that it's lined up so that it's corresponding to 5 volt. The middle is off, and then the rightmost one is 3.3, so, or the bottom one there. So you want to make sure that it's on 5 volt. Alright, so if we did that right, you can plug it in, turn it on, that green light comes on, turn it off. So let's power a servo. So we'll take an orange wire to indicate positive. Plug it in like so. You want to plug it into along the red here, and then plug the other end into the middle. Take a black wire to indicate negative, and the next row down, plug it on the blue side, and you can plug it in right next to your power, your positive. And then, let's see, we'll take another orange wire for positive and plug that right next into the other positive wire, and then this other black wire right next to each other like that. Okay, so we'll plug it in. So you'll plug the positive end here into the middle. Negative will go onto the dark, connecting up with this dark wire here. And if we did that right, so here's our servo. If we did that right, the servo will twitch when I turn it on. Yep. Okay, so then we also have this yellow wire here. We can plug in on the missing, or the empty port. And then here's our Arduino Uno. And so now we will plug this into digital pin number 2. So this servo we have set up now so that it would be corresponding to our first servo, and so this particular servo would be pressing the left and up buttons on your 3DS. You want to repeat those steps for setting up that one servo for 3 other servos, so you'll have a total of 4 servos. And then it'll look like a mess, but that's fine. So once you have all those servos set up, and you can test that they're set up correctly by turning them off and on, and they should twitch. Each one of them should twitch a little bit every time you turn them on. So all of mine are doing that. Then you can move on to building your photoreceptor unit. So this is a photoreceptor here. Let's bring it up all the way. Let's see. Well, yeah. So this is your photoreceptor. And we're going to build Alright, what I have here is what it is going to look like when we're done. So what I've done is just taken this other photoreceptor and basically I've built it a little home that it lives in inside a part of a pen, like the plastic part that wraps around a pen. So the ink of the pen would normally go through here. So I cut out a piece of that plastic casing of the pen and put the servo, or put the photoreceptor in through there. So like you can see, I can pull it out if I wanted to, but the way that it lives inside here, because when you eventually you're going to put this on your Nintendo DS, and it's going to go down like that, and so it needs to block out basically all light except the light that's coming from your screen. So the way we're going to do this is, here we have a photoreceptor, and first let's build it on the circuit board. And well, we do want to connect it on the photoreceptor first. Alright, so be good if you have some electrical tape. Actually, you need electrical tape. I'm gonna cut 2 small pieces of electrical tape. So here's 2 small pieces of electrical tape, and what you need to do is take 2 of these jumper wires and place a piece of electrical tape like so on these electrical wires. Oops. There. Alright, and then you're going to take the 2 ends of your photoreceptor, and I'm going to do it a little bit messy here, but what you need to do is really make sure that when we're going to wrap up this tape around the 2 wires here, and you need to make sure that those wires are going to be in contact with each other when you wrap it up. So I'll go ahead and do that for both ends. Yep, so when you're done, it'll look something like this. Okay, and then you can at any point get your pen casing, and you would basically slip it around so that way this photoreceptor can slide into the pen casing. And so the end product would end up looking something like this. And I have more electrical tape here that I've used to tape down onto the Nintendo DS bottom screen. Alright. Next, we're going to take 3 more of these jumper wires. we're going to insert a blue pin like so, a red pin like so, 2 down from the blue pin, and then a yellow pin, 2 more down. We'll have a blue, a red, and a yellow. And then we're going to take this this 10K ohm resistor, and those are going to go into the pins next to the red and the blue. Alright, so then you're going to take the other end of your yellow, and that is going to feed into the pin that says 5V or 5 volts on your Arduino. And then the red pin is going to insert into this analog pin number 1. And then the blue is going to go into the ground, or it says GND in this Arduino right next to the yellow. Alright, and then you're going to take this photoreceptor that you built, which will have the pen casing on it, and it doesn't matter which end goes into which, but these are going to go 2 pins in from the red and yellow pins. So one of the pins is going to be on the opposite side of that resistor. So it will be like a red pin, and then the resistor in, and then the other photoresistor pin, like that. Next, we're going to put the piezo speaker in. So this little speaker will tell us when something has gone wrong on the program. So let's see, we want to pay attention to where the positive end is. It should have there's a little plus sign right there. So we'll put that in. Like so. Doesn't matter when you put it in, doesn't matter which way the plus sign is facing, although what we need to do now is pay attention to where the plus sign went. I'm actually going to move this down. So we'll take a yellow wire, and that'll go into this digital pin number 6. And then we'll take another black wire, and then that's going to go, you want to be sure you're putting, for this row here, this row, see how these 2 pins are going in like this, you want to make sure you're putting everything here in the same row. This ground wire is going to go in the black that I just put in there is going to go into the other Arduino pin that's labeled GND. So you should have both of those 2 GNDs filled. Alright, now that you've done everything regarding the circuitry, you should deal with these servos. So each servo, when you buy them, they'll come with this little pack of like these little add-ons that you can put onto the gear of the servo. So you will put it on like that. It'll go on to the middle like there, and there's a little screw that you can screw down in through the middle, so that way you need that to screw this thing on, because otherwise these things will pop off. And then I just took some scissors, and you want to cut them to like the 4th hole. So right where that 4th hole is, you can cut them, and it'll end up looking like how mine looks. Alright. Next, we're going to actually start assembling everything. I built this stand. You're going to need it, something at least like this that has this flat surface that's a little bit raised off your table. And actually, I just went to Home Depot and they had some scrap wood in one of the bins in the back, and that's all I used, and some wood glue to hold these little legs here on. So we're going to take our DS, and it needs to be placed a little bit at an angle, or at least for mine, because of the way I have this clamp system working. So so let's put our breadboard and Arduino up on the stand here. And let's find our servo number 1, which is going to press our left and up buttons. Okay, it's right here. Alright, so let's see, yep, like that. So it's going to have to get clamped down like that, but you'll notice that the servo, when it gets clamped down, so we're going to clamp everything like this. When it gets clamped down, it would be pushing off the side of the DS, so I just have some random things that I have lying around that I can put next to the DS that are the same height as the side of the DS. And so, alright, the way we're going to clamp this on, clamp these things down, and so you don't have to build any of these things exactly the way I am, but this is at least the way I've been able to get the servos to stay on to the DS. So it needs to line up so that it's just sitting right over the buttons. Yeah. So that's good enough for now. You're going to have to do a lot of tweaking with this later to make sure it's pushing the buttons correctly. So we'll do that for all of our clamps. Alright, finally, you should have all 4 servos clamped down onto your Nintendo DS, and you need to check these and make sure that these will, these will in fact be able to revolve and press all the buttons that you want them to press. So, yeah, you need to make sure they're clamped down really well. Also, notice here these 2 inner servos. You have to, you can't clamp them down to rest directly on the border, this kind of raised border of the DS screen. If you clamp it down on any part of the screen or put any pressure on the screen, you end up with problems with the DS not being able to press for whatever reason. When it tries to actually press the buttons over here, they won't work. So I got a couple of pieces of flat wood that are just slightly taller than the rim of the screen, so that way when I clamp them down, it's not on those on the rim or border. Alright. Now you have your photoresistor that you've built that has this little dome here that I just made it of tape. So I'll just tape it down right here on the DS, on the screen. And also I taped it down so that way up here at the top there's no light coming in from the top. Alright, you should upload the program then from the computer, so that way you have it running into your Arduino here. So this is connected to my computer. So now it's connected up to the computer, and you'll have to make all kinds of adjustments on the computer side of things, which there's instruction in the tutorial about what you need to do there. But if I have everything running correctly, alright, we have to start about like that, and we have to start on our bicycle. So now what I'll do is, the way I started, you can make a button to be fancy, so that way you can just press a button. But alright, let's turn on the servos, and I'll take this jumper wire and insert it into pin number 9, and that starts the machine.